This is Lifted, a podcast by women for women. I created this podcast in order to showcase the strength women bring to the table on a day-to-day basis. Women in business, women in employed roles, women in athletic and sports capacities, women in motherhood and parenting, and even women as partners in relationships. It is clear to see that when women come together to support each other, they create such a strong force and help each other live their best lives and show up as their highest selves in this roller coaster called life. I also showcase and highlight the strength in women undertaking bodybuilding as a sport, the mental resilience and discipline required to get oneself through competition prep, and also what it takes to take your body through such an extreme sport by sharing experiences of different athletes in the sport. Having this platform to talk about all these things is important to me because based on personal experience, it was the key to unlocking my true potential, and by passing this on, it might inspire you to do the same in a different or similar capacity. This is Lifted, a podcast to lift you up, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally too, by talking about different ways of dealing with daily challenges we all face. I am your host, Carol West, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the sisterhood. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another guest episode here on Lifted. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of welcoming Michelle Lawrence to the pod. I am very happy to have Michelle here because we will be discussing my most favorite subject, which centers around bodybuilding. Michelle and I met at the Posing Pro Academy, which is run by lovely Emma Heidman, which is in Bradford, and I immediately felt at home around her. She helped me immensely when the sessions got tough, and together we saw it through, which I am very thankful for. So without going into so much more detail about her, I will now give her the opportunity to introduce herself to us and tell us what she is all about. Michelle, welcome to the pod, and please introduce yourself to the listeners.
Firstly, Carol, thank you so much for having me on the podcast here today. My name is Michelle Lawrence, and I am a mum to a 21-year-old. I got into bodybuilding in 2014. I had done martial arts for 13 years and basically sustained 2 injuries, and I just reviewed my journey, what I wanted to do. So I got into bodybuilding in 2014, did my first show in 2016, had absolutely no idea, no clue what I was doing, rocked on up to a show as a figure competitor, and didn't place. But I really enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed getting glammed up. I enjoyed the journey to the stage as well. And since then I've gone on to compete with BNBF, WNBF, UKDFBA, PNBA, and have a pro card with PNBA.
Nice.
So I started as a figure competitor and transitioned into bodybuilding. So that's where I sit now. So I work full-time as well, and love training and all the other stuff that comes with it.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's really good to know and really good to hear. It's always interesting to hear people's experiences when it comes to the bodybuilding side, because everybody's got such a different story to tell, and it fascinates me what actually leads people to get into that line of, that sort of sport, because as we both know, it's quite an extreme sport, isn't it? We must be a bit mad to want to get involved with something like that. But for me personally, I do like the challenge and I do like pushing limits. I'm like a small child, like when you tell them don't touch that, they'll be like, well, I'm really curious. I really just want to touch it just to see what happens. So I'm a bit like that. But also it's not that just the fact that bodybuilding is, most people view what bodybuilding, or can view, those people who haven't got an idea of what it's all about, it might look like just a vanity thing to the outside person, but really it's so far from that. And what you get out of bodybuilding is so much more than just going in and getting glammed up and putting your heels on and standing on stage and doing all the moves. There is so much that you can use out of the bodybuilding experience to how shall we say, apply to the rest of your life. It's the resilience, it's the having to have the patience before the results come. And we will go into that a bit more later on in the episode. But right now, I'm just interested, like for you, um, how did you come about getting into bodybuilding? Were you inspired by somebody, or is it something that you've always wanted to do, or you just threw yourself in it? How did it come about?
Yeah, so I just happened upon it. So like I said, I did martial arts for 13 years, and I knew I was at a stage in my life where I needed to do something different, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. So I just went to the gym one day. I've always trained,
Yeah.
but didn't really have that consistency with it. So I just went to the gym, and I found that I enjoyed being in the gym, being able to switch off. I wasn't a mom, I wasn't a sister, I wasn't a friend. I was just Michelle in the gym, just doing me. And
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. And I just built upon it. And I found that my going to the gym was replacing my actual martial arts sessions. And then
Mm.
eventually I stopped going martial arts and I threw myself into the gym full time, literally. And there was a lot going on in my life at that time. I was going through a separation as well, and I
Mm.
needed to channel that energy into what was going on around me. And I
Yeah.
found that it gave me that peace of mind that when I went into the gym, that I was able to switch off and just process these feelings and thoughts that were going through my mind with
Mm.
clarity. And I'd always leave that gym just feeling in a better position, a little stronger.
Yeah.
And my desire just grew and grew and grew. And as I became more consistent with my training and started seeing results, and I was like, oh, what
Yeah.
can be achieved
I'm
here? I'm
liking
liking
this.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, yeah, and I just started going to the gym a little bit more and just managing my time. I also liked because it was allowing me to be a little bit more dedicated, consistent with creating a routine, because
Mm.
I had a young child at the time. I think he was 13 then. It
Right. Okay.
was about trying to find the time to train and also just be mum and get him to school on time. So I found myself at the gym at 5:45 in the morning and
Yeah.
literally banging out a training session within an hour and then darting back home to get him up ready for school.
That's cool. Yeah.
And I liked that. And then I started learning about the nutrition side of it. And I just like integrated the whole thing together and started to think, oh, what can I achieve here? And then I saw a friend of mine do a bodybuilding show, and I thought, oh, I'd like to do something like that. I can see myself being challenged doing that. And then
Yeah.
there's those questions like, hell no, am I going to be getting on a stage in a bikini? Not me, no way. And yeah, I did it, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed the challenge. I didn't know what to expect. I had no clue whatsoever.
No.
And, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a funny feeling. I just think it gave me that focus. And it also took me away from what was going on in my life at that
Yes.
time.
Mm.
And it's funny I say that now because it's the whole journey is completely different now, because I like the challenge,
Mm.
I like the focus, but I'm at peace with it all. It's not taking me away from life itself. At that time, it was taking me away from the seriousness of what was going on in my personal life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I got
Brilliant.
into
Brilliant.
it.
So did you just do this all yourself? Did you not have like a coach or somebody to did you just self-teach? How did you go about this? Because most people, it's like it's quite a big thing to like do on your own. And like if you don't know anything about it, obviously coming from the martial arts side of things, it's very different, isn't it? Just compare those
Completely.
two. Just compare those two for us and just let us know how you managed to self-teach yourself if you didn't have a coach.
So I didn't teach myself. I did have a coach. My friends, the same one that I saw do the her first show,
Hmm.
she also recently qualified as a PT. So I said to her, "How would you feel about prepping me for a show?"
Yeah.
And she says, "Oh, I'm not sure." And I said, "Look, let's just go into this. We're going to both go into it blind, but you've had the experience of doing a prep yourself, and you
Hmm.
know the principles behind what's needed, what's required to get stage ready. So yeah, we embarked on this journey together, and bless her, she was so good. She put up with my mood swings and all the rest of it. Like I said, I had absolutely no idea what to expect. And as you can imagine, when you're digging deeper and deeper, getting closer and closer to show, your energy levels are low and all the rest of it. There's so many emotions that you've got to be dealing with. And at that time, working full time, running around like a lunatic after my son.
Mad.
Yeah, it got deep, it got deep. But somehow I managed to get through it. It was awful, but
Yeah.
I learned so much from that first prep.
Mm.
So much. It was just,
Mm.
it was a real experience. I think the thing that I enjoyed the most is that I did not know what to
What to
expect.
expect? Yes, yes, yes. And it is like that for most people when you're starting out. It's like for me as well, that first prep, obviously this was my first season, but in those first few months after I come off the building phase to start the prep itself, obviously I didn't actually know what to expect. But because I was so determined to not let it beat me, because I'd heard podcasts, I'd read things about prep, I kind of went in as prepared as I could be for it. But just nothing prepares you for it because you don't know what you're going to be like. You don't know what to expect with it. But because I was so determined to like not be one of those people who says like, oh, it's really hard and I can't do it. I ground through it, even though I was dying. I was refusing to admit that I was dying. And I think that's just what got me through. But then after that first one, obviously, I well, I made my coach and I decided, I decided to do it that way. So I did my qualifiers back in May. And then when I qualified, I didn't know I would. With it being first time and everything, you just think, like, oh, I'm just gonna go and do it. But my coach is one of them, like, yeah, we're not just doing it, we are actually winning. So none of that. We are actually going in for a win. So come on. And I was like, well, who actually ever goes in first time and wins anything? And I was of that mentality. But then she switched it around for me, and she was like, no, you can't be thinking like that because we're here to compete. The whole point of it is it's a competition. And a lot of people will have different views on this, whether or not you should go in with that sort of mentality or whether you should just go to take part. What do you think? How do you see it?
So it's really funny you should say that. So in 2016, I did my first show completely clueless. But in 2017, I got myself a proper prep coach
Yeah.
and embarked on that journey to my first show. I didn't know, I just thought I was going to go along and do a qualifier. I didn't know that they had British finals and world finals.
Right.
And so my first show was with the BMBF, and I competed as a figure girl and won my qualifier. And at the end of the day of show day, they invited me to the finals, and I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
so
Okay.
prep continues. Okay, I can do this."
Yeah, yeah.
And then so I continued my prep for I think it was another 6 weeks. And again, as I said, I wasn't expecting any of this, just going along and doing a show. So I got ready for the finals and won the finals, and then got invited to the world finals as well.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't ready for any of this. I didn't know
Yeah.
that you could go on to do so many shows through
Mm,
one federation.
mm.
So went on to the world finals and I won there as well.
Wow.
So, but what happened in 2017 kind of set me up for 2018. So then I thought, okay, I'm going to go and do another federation. So I then went with the UK DFBA
Mm.
and rocked on up as a bigger competitor and did my show.
Yeah.
Got on stage, loved it, and placed third. And then just after the show, one of the judges came out and said, please don't disappear. We'd like to invite you back to compete as a bodybuilder, just to
No
do a
way.
comparison. Yeah, because you don't actually fit the criteria for
Oh,
figure.
wow. That's
So
amazing.
yeah, exactly. So I was really fortunate, and this is why I'm so dedicated to that federation, because they really are about the athlete.
Hmm.
And so I did go back onto stage with my flip flops because I was so used to wearing shoes that I ended
Yeah.
up going back on stage prior to that, learning the bodybuilding's
Yes, I was going to
poses.
say, how did you go about that? Because obviously it's
Yeah,
different
so
sort of poses.
Lee Kemp, who's the president of the UK DFBA, he literally came backstage and showed me the bodybuilding poses in 10 minutes. It was
Oh
hilarious.
my
But
God.
yeah, I did my best, went back on stage in my flip-flops and got an invite to the British finals for the UK DFBA
Wow.
and won that as well. Then got an invite to the world finals
Brilliant.
in LA.
Yeah.
But I think having so much success in my first 2 years was a little bit of a wake-up call when I then went on to compete as a pro
Yeah.
in 2019 in New York. Um, I wasn't ready.
No.
I wasn't ready, and that's the true reality of it. I was clueless, and I was also on this high of
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
won two British finals. I've got my pro cards and all the rest of it. And
Yeah.
it was a real reality check. It was a real lesson that I learned. I placed seventh at the world finals
Right.
as a pro athlete. And I remember getting off the stage just feeling very disappointed,
Mm.
deflated,
Yeah.
demotivated,
Yeah.
all the rest of it. And then having a conversation with my coach at the time, who was absolutely brilliant, Imla, and having a conversation with him and him just giving me a reality check as well. And I think the important thing for people to remember when they are on prep or doing embarking on this journey is to have the right people around you. You don't need people blowing smoke up your backside.
No, not
You
at
don't
all.
need it. You've got to have people who are going to keep it real with you. And
Yeah,
he was one of
absolutely.
those people. And he watched me and my progression to the world finals. And there was so many other things going on at the time, but he didn't say anything. He was just watching, because he believed, as I learned later, that
Yeah.
a lesson needed to be learned there. And I'm forever grateful to him for that, because it really, what I like I said, I got a real reality check there
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you have all that success, but you wasn't ready,
He wasn't
Michelle. You
ready.
you wasn't
That's
ready.
actually quite hard though, isn't it? Because coming from a high of winning and being like, you're feeling great, you're feeling like, I'm doing really well, to then placing seventh, it's like, how did you deal with those emotions? How did you cope with that?
I remember because it was in New York. I got back home and feeling sorry for myself, didn't really want to talk to anyone, and
Mm.
then just literally just I'm very critical of myself and just breaking down my physique and all the rest of it, and
Yeah,
just just having conversations with myself. And then when I was in the right mindset, approaching my coach and getting his advice and seeing what needed to be done next. And it was about, I had to bring up so many different areas of my physique, and it's still a work in progress. This
yeah.
was back in 2019,
Mm.
now in 2023, and it's still a work in progress. I haven't gone on to win an open pro class as yet as a women's bodybuilder.
Okay.
And this is something I believe a lot of athletes have to remember, that it takes a long time and you
Mm.
have to be very, very patient,
Yeah.
and you have to be dedicated both within your prep and in your off season as well.
Mm.
And these things you don't, well, I personally haven't learned immediately. It's something that I've learned along the way. And this is my first long off season where I'm like thinking, okay, so I have to make sure that my training's on point, my nutrition's on point,
Yeah.
my sleep and recovery and all the rest of it's on point as well, to put me in a better position for my next time that I decide to go
Absolutely.
do my prep.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's so many things to learn.
There is. There is.
Just
Yeah.
because you get a pro card doesn't mean you're a
Doesn't
pro
end there.
athlete.
No, it doesn't end there. You
Yeah,
still you
it
still have
doesn't.
to keep working, and you still have to be committed to the whole process, and take it seriously. Like, if you do want to make something out of the sport anyway, or if you do want to get that sort of sense of achievement, and to know that you've actually done everything you possibly could to put you in the best position to do really well in the sport, you have to still keep working. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
very it's and again, this is something that we're going to discuss later on in the episode, but at the moment you are in your off season, aren't you? How is
Yeah.
that going for you, and what sort of areas are you looking to bring up? What sort of what's your training regime? Tell us all the juicy details.
So when I competed back in June of this year at the UK DFBA World Championships.
Mm.
And I remember coming off the stage, I didn't win again, and I was second. And it was just coming off the stage and thinking about, right, what needs to improve in
Yeah,
my off season? And the first thing I said, well, Michelle, you need to take a longer off season.
yeah.
You know, I'm in my 50s and there's a
You look
lot of
amazing. You look
speculation.
amazing.
Yeah,
You look amazing
thank you.
for being in your
Thank you.
50s. Wow. Yeah, go on.
But
Sorry.
there's a lot of speculation around women, well, people over 50 building muscle,
Yeah,
etc. You know,
yeah,
it's not possible. But
yeah.
then it's looking at how long have you been training for prior to that.
Mm.
Now, I haven't been weight training all my life, you know, since the age of 16. I haven't done that. I started weight training not longer. And when I first did get into it, it was a case of, oh wow, you really do notice the difference. Like I transformed from A to B quite
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
And it is about just refining your training. So this off season, it has been looking at my weaker areas. I'm a tall person. I've got bloody long
You
limbs,
have, yeah.
and I've got to fill so many gaps. And that really does show when you get on the stage. When you're on stage with somebody who's shorter than you and they're quite compact, and there's you who's lanky, which I've been
Yeah.
known to, that's what they used to call me when I was younger, as lanky.
Brilliant.
So I've got to fill all the gaps.
Yeah,
So between my coach and I, he looked at me and said, "Right, this needs to come up. Literally, my whole posterior and
right.
my legs, but all over the whole body. Just bring up areas, just create more density, and overall, just create more muscle mass." So training is 5 times a week,
Right.
and with cardio sessions lasting 30 minutes. So at the moment, it's 3 sessions a week of cardio
Okay.
and 5 training sessions. So I'm doing 3 leg days and
Upper.
two upper sessions as
Yeah,
well. And
yeah,
it's just like literally rinse and repeat, but also just making sure that my recovery is on point as well. So I do like to go to bed quite early so that I do get my sleep in as well. That's very, very important. That's something I noticed in my last prep where I really was being an athlete, i.e., going to bed at 6 p.m. and then waking up at 3 a.m. to go to the gym. And I
yeah.
found that helped a lot. Prior the previous prep, I was walking around, I just looked haggard. Like literally, no, seriously. If you
Oh
saw when I
God.
look back at the pictures of 2022, and I'm like, Michelle, seriously, you
This.
look awful. So it was just, it really did open my eyes, and I said, right, I need to really make sure I prioritize my sleep and recovery, my nutrition, and then the training.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
though that's in that order is how I like to make sure that I stay on point with my training. So I had I had legs this morning,
mm,
and so today is about just making sure that I recover and eating well, staying hydrated as well. So it's just things like the basics
yeah,
really. There's
yeah,
nothing
yeah.
complicated
Of
about it.
course.
Training,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
making sure that the splits are correct,
yeah.
that the training is customized to me as well. You
Yes.
know, there's so many things you when I first got into bodybuilding, and I remember going online Instagram and seeing a model, and I was thinking, wow, I need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have her physique, I need to have
Yeah.
her glutes, and downloading her program
Yeah,
and
it doesn't
trying
look
it,
like that.
not seeing the results in 2 weeks and switching. And
Switching.
that's how my bodybuilding career started, like literally just downloading programs,
Yeah. I've lost you a bit there, Michelle. I'll just wait for you to come back to me.
just following them for a couple of weeks.
You're
Kind of
back.
lost you there.
You're back. Yeah.
You're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it started for me basically. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
as I've got older, more mature, more sensible, a little bit more savvy around what's required, I'm just a
Yeah.
little bit more consistent, dedicated with
Yeah.
my off season.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is very, very important. What you just pointed out there about going online or on social media and looking at somebody and thinking like, oh, I'll download the program. This is something that I really I I speak about this to my clients as well, and it's something that really needs addressing because people don't seem to realize that what works for one person doesn't really work for another. And sometimes, like, I'm in like loads of fitness forums as well, and stuff like this, and you'll find people there asking like, oh, what's your training plan? Oh, please tell us how you train, what do you eat? And it's like, yeah, it's all very well and good you asking somebody what they do and how they live their lives, but that's tailored to them.
Yeah.
When it comes to you, you're a completely different body, and the way you respond to things is completely different, and how the body's mechanisms work is completely different to each and every individual of us. So then I would like to go back into the your category for what you're in now. So obviously I'm a figure girl, and that's where you started off. So with us doing the Posing Pro Academy course together, I just have a little bit tidbits of what sort of things to look at for like the bodybuilding side. But with you being there now, I'd just like you to talk us through what the differences are between the figure and the bodybuilding, and what sort of things the judges look for when it comes to both the two categories. How did you find that transition as well? Like, I know you got thrown into it, so you really didn't have time to think. But how are you finding it?
So I'm going to take it back a little bit, and don't forget I did bikini. So I'm
Oh,
a
yeah.
bodybuilder. Yeah. So no, posing.
Oh,
So
posing. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I compete in bodybuilding, but I actually did my first session with Emma in IFBB bikini,
yeah.
and that just completely blew my mind.
Like,
But
what?
what I found interesting is that the same principles of foundation were there, starting from the feet upwards, just making you sure you're setting up the foundation.
Yeah,
What the judges are looking for in the criteria is, i.e., the top line, the taper, the X frame,
yeah.
all those little details, and just as you layer it up to the different categories. So to go back to your question of figure, so in figure we are looking for that X frame.
Yeah,
We're looking for a 3D top line. We're
yeah,
looking for nice cat delts and, nice small waist, a nice quad sweep.
yeah.
So when you go over to women's, well, to bodybuilding in general, it's the same principles,
Mm.
except there are more poses in bodybuilding.
Right,
So
okay.
starting from the feet up, just making sure that the feet are placed in the right position, that we've got nice quad sweep, that we're showing rounded glutes, nice small waist, that V taper, a
Yeah,
nice top line as well, cat delts.
yeah.
And so as you can hear from what I've just said, although they're different categories, the foundation of what the judges are looking for in
It's the
those
same.
categories are very
Similar.
similar.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is about just taking an athlete, because everyone is different, and it is about taking an athlete, looking at them and seeing how we as posing coaches can help to improve their physique. And it takes time and it takes
Mm.
experience. And one thing I'm learning is you really do have to train the eye to know what it is that you need to be looking for. So taking you as a figure girl, what am I trying
Yeah.
to bring out? I'm trying to bring out your best attributes for you as a figure girl. So you can have one girl who's got a fantastic back, and then you've got another girl who's got not so much a bigger back, of nice V taper. So, but
Mm.
how can we as posing coaches help bring out those finer details and just make the frame look a little bigger? And it's the same transitioning over into bodybuilding, being able, placing yourself in a position to be able to just look at your athlete and see how you can help just bring out those attributes
Yeah.
in their physique.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like for figure, it's all about the balance. Figure as a category is about the balance. So the top and the bottom have to balance out. So you can't be having one side bigger than the other. It is really about the balance. If we go and look at the top of the top, the greatest one of all, Sydney, um, you will understand what I mean by balance. It's not like
Yeah.
she got like massive delts and not as much on the lower side. So everything is quite nicely balanced out. So now my question to you is, when it comes to the bodybuilding, what is the criteria for that? Is it the same, or is it just more of
Yeah.
that?
No, so a very valid point there. So myself as a bodybuilder, one thing I noticed is that I've got this huge V taper,
Yeah.
and I can really bring that conditioning in my upper body, but my lower body will let me down. There's not as much muscle mass
Okay.
in the lower half.
And is that
So
you're quite a tall person as well? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it is about creating the same balance in the upper half to the lower half,
Yeah.
and it's just making sure how can you bring out the same condition that you have at the top in the bottom as well. So again, yes, they are looking for the balance. So you just want to make sure that when you are posing your client, that they are balanced at the bottom as well as at the top as well. So it's the same, again, the same criteria that the judges are looking for, just making sure that the physique is balanced.
It's
You don't want
balanced. Yeah.
the upper overpowering the lower or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's just placing that athlete in the right position to create the symmetry both on the left and right, and
Yes.
top and bottom as well.
Yeah, I think the only category that we can have not much of a balance is wellness, because you need your lower to be quite big and quite pronounced
Yeah.
compared to the upper, and then to bring in that hourglass shape. Although I'm not an expert in the wellness category because I've not done it in detail, but based on how the girls
Yeah.
stage, you can clearly see that the lower half is bigger than the upper.
Yeah.
But I think the rest of them are quite similar, aren't they, in terms of the balance and how everything
Yeah.
is to look for the judges. Yeah,
Exactly that. And I think the wellness category is a great example where they don't need the balance between top and bottom, but they do have to work very, very hard to create that mass in the lower half of
yes,
their body.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you, for the training, now that you've transitioned to bodybuilding, is it different sort of a training plan to like your figure days? Is there specifics where you actually have to do more of or less of for the bodybuilding side? I suppose it will be more, won't it? Because you need to be a bit bigger.
Well, do you have to be bigger? It's again, it's an illusion that you're creating. So my training has not changed much
Okay,
over the years.
right.
In fact, in the last 3 years, I've been on the same training program with my current coach. And although with a different coach, my training wasn't that much different. It is about bringing that intensity
Yeah.
and just training with intention, making sure you're hitting the targeted muscle, not just going through the motion. So doing pull-ups, lat pull downs, deadlifts, RDLs, stuff like that. I've always done them.
Yeah.
And that's what's helped bring up the physique. But I think what's changed for me is the mindset and actually having more information and more knowledge around what it is I'm trying to accomplish.
Mm.
Back in the day, not having much information in with regards to how I train and that knowledge. It's only when I actually did my PT course myself that I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like I said, completely naive going into this. And,
Yeah.
I come from a banking background,
Wow.
having no idea
Uh,
whatsoever
yeah.
to expect. So it was a little different for me. I was very naive when I started. So it was building that knowledge as I've gone through
Yeah.
my journey, and I can say that this is the year that it's all kind of clicked in place. I think what also helped a lot during prep was listening to podcasts
Yes.
and the knowledge of experienced bodybuilders
Mm.
who've been in the game for a long time. And the one common conception was just to keep it simple, don't
Yeah.
overcomplicate it, find
Absolutely.
what works for you and keep at it.
Yeah.
Don't keep changing. There's no need. Like I said, the same training program for myself for the past 3 years, and I've started seeing the results because what my coach did was showed me intensity. I thought
Yeah.
I was training with
No.
intensity. No,
Nowhere near.
no, and that is what is your RPE? You can
Yeah.
say, oh yeah, that was on a scale of 10,
Yeah.
and your coach is like looking at you like
Right.
thinking,
No.
yeah, that's a
You're
5.
actually quite chilled, you. You need to
Yeah,
go harder.
exactly. And learning that was a real game changer for me. So
Yeah.
training with him and then bringing that same mindset and intensity to my own sessions has been a real game changer, and I really have seen a lot of difference
Yeah.
in the year over the years, and like
Yeah.
in this past year in
And would you
particular.
say, yeah, would you say like it's because I find this myself when I'm training on my own, it's much different to when I'm training with, say, a training partner or like a coach, because on your own, you kind of tend to get lazy, don't you? You just think like, yeah, that's good enough. But then when you're with somebody else, do you find that? Are you the same?
Can't you see me chuckling? This morning was a prime example. So another thing that was good for me is that after my prep this year, I started training with my leg day training partner,
Oh
who's an
God,
absolute
that's
beast.
painful. That's
Yeah,
painful.
she's a beast. She's very strong. So that worked to my advantage because she's
Yeah,
stronger than me and she's very no nonsense. And I just love her for it.
yeah,
And having her do take me through my paces every single leg session, she holds me accountable, has been a game changer. Because Michelle was that person who would be training legs and thinking, oh, that hurts. Yeah,
yeah.
I need to stop
Leave it
that.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But it's learning how to overcome that. And that's what I've learned in the last 6 months, and also building confidence. I hated barbell squatting.
oh, yeah.
And now I enjoy it because I kept saying, "No, I'm tall. I've got long limbs. I can't do barbell squats." But it's not a case of that. It's
No.
about building your confidence and correcting your technique.
Yeah, yeah.
And those have been integral to my progression in the past 6 months. So yes, having a training partner I think is very important, or getting in for a session with your coach also equally important as well, just so that they can reinforce what your sessions should be looking like. If you're going into a session, everyone's level of intensity is going to be
Different.
different.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't mimic what you see
No,
on
no,
Instagram. You
no,
can't. You've got to
absolutely
be
not.
real with yourself and know what your body can and can't handle. Don't forget that the mind is going to give up before the body,
Yes, yes,
always.
true.
So it's about recognizing that, you're on the hack squat, you go down, you think, God, I can't come back up. And you've got your partner there saying, two
You
more
can't.
reps,
Yeah, yeah,
giving them
yeah.
the evil eye, like, are you
Right, what are you doing?
crazy? Are you, yeah, what are you crazy? And finding that you've actually gone on to do another 4 reps.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I love about having a training partner, is just,
And that's the key. Like that's where the magic happens. Like when you can get to that point, and then the results start coming, and you think like, oh my God, I'm actually taking my body to the next level, and it's amazing. And the other thing I find is you're always learning. You don't actually stop. Like I've just discovered a way to switch my quads on for the leg extension, and I'm thinking like, this is a bloody game changer, because now 2025, I'm gonna have quads. Well,
well,
before I was
and
thinking like I struggle like with training lower. I've always done, but I've managed to bring my glutes up quite a lot from where I started off. But my quads, I think it's because I'm just scared of being in so much pain, and I don't actually register what I need to be trained, how to switch them on. But I've discovered it quite recently, and I'm thinking like, wow, this is something else, because the pump you get after is like mad. It's immense. And that's something. And I've been training a long time. It's not like I've just started training now. So this is what I mean. Like even for the most advanced athletes or people who've been training a long time, the learning never ends. And you keep discovering things about how your body works every time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it takes it back to what I said earlier about just moving the weights from A to B. It's about being in tune with your body and actually making sure that it's not your joints doing
Yes.
the training, the moving the
Movement.
muscle. It's
Yeah.
actually your muscles, and that's something I learned the hard way, unfortunately. When I was in prep and I was doing the hack squat, I just stopped because it was just too much pain. What
Hmm.
I didn't realize is that I was moving the hack squat. I wasn't actually using my muscles, I was
Right.
using my joints. So
Yeah.
coming off there thinking, God, that hurt. I
Good.
can't do that.
Yeah.
Actually being frightened of training legs
Yeah.
and doing hack squat, just, real anxiety would be coming into my sessions. And when
Yeah.
I started training with Mariam, who's my training partner, and we just stripped it back, and it was just really making sure that, like you said, targeting, engaging the quads, and making sure that you are putting that force through the quads
Yeah.
throughout the whole movement. And that was a game changer for me, getting off the hack squat, and my knees were like, hey, we
Still
can go
here.
again.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it was really good. So
Brilliant,
that
yeah.
for me was a real game changer.
Yeah.
And it also trickled over into other areas of my training as well. Just don't be afraid to strip things back. Just because
Yeah,
you
exactly. Yeah.
doing such and such weight on whatever machine, don't get caught up in it. Just
No.
stay real to yourself
Yeah,
and
yeah,
do
yeah.
what is right for you, but do it with, the correct mindset. Know why you're doing it, like mechanically,
Yes, exactly.
your muscles as well is very important. And when you can do that and recognize it, you're going to see your body transform. Like you said with glutes, I didn't train glutes before.
No.
Trust me when I tell you. And it showed when I got on stage. Like my upper half would be like, bam.
Oh,
And
yeah,
my
yeah.
lower half would be like, ooh,
Ooh, what's this?
yeah, what's going on? Like so many off season, I looked like I had some big glutes.
Yeah.
But you strip all that
Drop
fat
back. Yeah,
and
yeah.
there was nothing there.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
2025, that's going to be a different
Oh,
story.
let's go.
Like,
Let's go.
yeah,
Love
my
it.
glutes hurt every single day, but I'm
Yeah.
grateful for it. But that's
Yeah.
because I now train them, and I don't train them light. We go heavy. So that's another thing. Before I would shy away from doing things like hip thrusts and Bulgarian split squats.
Oh God, yeah. It's like wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do get, as you say, that's a really good point that you've made there. It really is about focusing on working the muscle. And again, this is something that a lot of people will not understand when you say like mind to muscle connection. They don't know what that is. And again, it's a learning process. And you have to be very much in tune with what you're doing. Like in your training sessions, you have to be all in. So you can't be having your mind wandering off because you're not actually. I see people like on the squat machine and everything else, they're texting, and you're thinking like, what are you actually doing? Because you might as well just be sat at home on your CT. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because I think I'm on the extreme side because we're athletes and we do things, we train differently. But
Yeah.
even for the normal general population, if you want to get something out of your training session, you've got to commit to it. You
Yeah.
really have to focus on your training session, even if it's just for that half hour. Make sure that you're training with intensity and with intent, and actually you're hitting the muscles that need hitting, because
Yeah.
you'll get so much more out of a session when you're literally in it, committed, like thinking like I'm working this, I'm doing glutes, it's glutes. So today we're going to feel nothing but glutes, and we just hit and hit and hit, rinse and repeat. And you'll get so much more out of that session rather than just going through the motions, or ego lifting just because somebody hip thrusted 200. You're thinking like, I'm going to go 210. You're not
Yeah.
actually doing anything with your glutes.
No, exactly.
You're moving the weight, but you're not actually using your glutes to do it.
Yeah.
uh,
No.
and it has to be a message that I really want to put across, not just to my clients, but to everybody else who's into training or coming into training, wanting to take their physique to the next level. That is actually what it takes. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
have to focus on the small details and rinse and repeat that, like
Yeah.
everything in there. And it doesn't actually have to be like spending hours in the gym. Do you know what I mean? Some people think like, you have to do it for hours and hours for you to actually see change. It's not. 30 minutes, 45 minutes of intense training will give you
Yeah.
results. Obviously, pairing it with your nutrition side and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that you have to put across to people so that they understand it.
Yeah.
And for you, if you were trying to explain what I've just said to say a client who's coming for you to help them, would you word it the same, or is there a way that you can actually explain so it's actually understandable for the
I
general
think
population?
it's a difficult one. It's like taking a Ferrari, for example. I think working from the inside out. So taking a Ferrari, would you go and put grade B fuel into your Ferrari, or would you actually be thinking about putting grade A into it? Obviously, you're going to want to put grade A because you want the
Yeah,
body to work to its maximum ability.
yeah,
So, nutrition, just explaining to them, eat the foods that you like in
Yep.
balance and try and avoid all the processed foods, stick to the real foods. And then when it comes to the actual training, it's thinking about working the targeted muscle. So if
Mm.
you're going in and you're going to be doing biceps curl, let's keep it simple. If you're doing bicep curl, but you're feeling it elsewhere, what's wrong? What's not right? Do you
Yeah,
need to change your hand positioning slightly? It's getting them to understand that when you go into the gym, it is about focus. Having that focus for half an hour, it's amazing what you can achieve in that half an
absolutely.
hour.
Yeah,
But just stay focused, stay thinking, right, I'm going to train my bicep. And like you said with your glutes, my biceps had to be pumped by the time I come out of here.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
just keep that focus. Just really, really strip it back for the client.
Mm.
Just talk to them in layman terms.
Yeah.
You don't have to get technical. There's too many people in the industry today using frigging words that just
Scary
mean
words.
nothing, just using all these big words and just confusing people.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to just strip it back, keep it plain and simple so that people understand that you can go into the gym. You don't have to be an elite athlete. You can just be the ordinary Joe Blogs, go into the gym. You can achieve results in 30 minutes if you
Mm.
are focused on the targeted muscle. And I think
Absolutely.
that's as plain and as simple as you can get it without
Yeah.
overcomplicating it.
Yeah.
And as they become a little bit more affluent with their training, then they like I did myself, you can then learn how to manipulate the muscle a little bit more. Then you can start
Yeah.
talking to them about the mechanics of how the muscle works and how you can bring that into your training as well. But to start off with, keep it plain and simple because you're just
Absolutely.
end up confusing people.
Yeah,
My
I
son's a
agree.
prime example. He started training back in July,
Mm.
and I did his first month with him in the gym, and I kept it simple, and he's making progress because it is simple,
It's
and
simple.
because
Yeah.
he's got me here as well as mum,
Yeah.
cooking for him. He's growing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hear it all the time, like some of his friends said, "Oh, what about the, using steroids and stuff?"
Yeah. What are you
No,
doing? What are you
you're
doing?
only you're only 21. You
Yeah.
don't need that just yet. Just build
Yeah.
your physique
Yeah.
naturally. And
Use the
then,
food.
yeah, use food, eat all the foods. And that's what I say to him. He's always been a small eater. But I said, that's great. Just eat little and often. And you'd
Yes.
be
Yeah.
amazed at how much food you can get into your body in a
Mm.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. You
So
just space it out and little and often, and you get it all in.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's the problem with today's society, that you do have social media, you have people who want to share with you what they eat in a day. It's
Yes.
irrelevant.
I
It's
know.
completely irrelevant because what you eat and what I can eat is going to be completely different.
Different.
Your
Yeah.
diet is the foods that you enjoy,
Mm.
what's suited to you, your culture. You've got one person who's going to be eating this food and another who's going to be eating that. We as a nation have to remember that it's all well and good seeing these things on Instagram, on Facebook, online, wherever you're looking. Keep it real,
Yep.
and don't get caught up in it. I've been there, I've
Mm.
done it. When I
Mm.
first started my fitness journey, I got sucked up into
Yeah.
everything, and I learned the hard way. People on prep are thinking, oh, they're eating rice cakes
Yes.
for peak week. And me, like a fool, would be
Like
saying, "Oh, I've got to have rice cakes."
yeah.
And my coach looking at one of the lessons that I learned. Um, I'm getting rice cakes to do my peak week, and he's like looking at me saying, "Why would you want to do that?" And I goes, "What do you mean? Everyone eats
Everyone's doing
rice
it.
cakes."
Yeah.
Done it, and I paid the result
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
didn't listen. I knew best because other people were
Mm.
doing it.
Yeah. It's really, really, it's a fine line, that, because in that moment when you're in prep and the back end of it, when you're absolutely gone, it's almost like it messes with your mind, because you're looking at things, and this is where you really have to filter out what's coming into your social media and stuff like that, because it can actually mess with your head. And
Yeah.
I remember also, like you, going through that back end of things, and you can see people being given all sorts of things, and I'm thinking, like, have I actually got the right coach? Like, why am I not getting this stuff? This is the nice stuff. I need that. I've not eaten that for like ages. Why is she not giving them me? And
Yeah.
it can actually be very hard to take, but you have to learn to trust your coach. And
Yeah.
because they know what your body's doing and how your body's reacting to things, they will know what's right for you. Those people who are being given rice cakes, the reason why they're being given those rice cakes, it won't necessarily work for you. And you just have to trust the process, as hard as it is, and wait for your time to eat rice cakes. That will come after you've been off stage. But it is hard.
Exactly.
It's
No,
hard,
it
isn't
is.
it?
It is. And I think you said a very important thing about what you subject yourself to during your prep. For me, when it got to probably 6 weeks out, I actually came off social media because
Hmm.
I was recognizing it was having such a negative
Yeah.
impact on me that I was comparing. And so you'll find that when I am in prep and I'm in the depth of it, I kind of remove myself
Yeah.
because I'm protecting myself,
Absolutely.
protecting myself from what I don't need to actually be seeing. And
Mm,
that works for me.
mm,
It
mm.
works because then I can really be very selfish and focus on me and my prep and just,
Yeah.
just have the right people around me to help get me where I need to get to. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of people have to be able to do as well. Have that strength to say, don't actually need to be
Yeah.
on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I
Yeah.
can actually be selfish and focus on my prep and just keeping the people around me happy as well, because that's
Yeah.
another important thing. In my first prep, I became very selfish. It's me, I'm on prep, blah blah
Yeah.
blah,
Yeah.
just like
I'm
completely
special.
clueless. Yeah. And then after my prep, my mum rang me and said, Sebastian, that's my son, said, you were horrible
Oh
during
God.
prep. And that broke
I
me. It
bet it
completely
did. That's
broke me.
awful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it completely broke me. And I swore from that day onwards that if I do another prep, it will never be the same. And it hasn't, because I recognize it's my choice.
Yeah, absolutely. It shouldn't really
And
impact the people around you because it's
no,
your choice. And yeah, that's hard to take that from
yeah,
yeah,
it hit hard. And
yeah,
from then I just said, right, it's my choice and it's not anyone else's fault, that
mm,
I'm feeling crap, that I've got no energy, that I need to go and do this, I need to go to work. You just take that responsibility
yeah,
and you crack
absolutely.
on with
You
it.
crack on
And
with it. Yeah, you just
yeah,
crack on with it and be a no a good human being to people.
yeah,
Um, and
exactly.
also don't walk around like, I know it's hard, but you don't have to actually walk around like, just miserable all day, every day.
No,
Because it's your
no,
choice at the end of the day. Nobody's made you do it. So you shouldn't really, I don't know, but for me, it was, again, for me, like, social media was a big thing, and for me, social media wasn't really about the food side of things because I could handle it. When I'm in that zone, I'm in that zone. It doesn't really phase me. But I'll tell you what really got to me. It was the posing, because I used to go and have a look at all these other girls posing, and I'm not like a girly girl, and posing doesn't come naturally to me. And I know it doesn't come naturally to most people, and you learn, it's a skill that you have to learn, but some people move more elegantly than others, and some people had just got the flow without actually looking like they're trying. And for me, it took absolutely bloody ages. And I invested quite a lot in my posing sessions. So for me to get to where I was, even before the first time I stepped on stage, I still wasn't confident. I was like, I don't actually know what I'm doing. And like, it was hard. And then you go on social media and you see all these girls doing all these things, and you think, I'm never going to be able to do that. And this is really, really hard. But then you still have to have that mentality of, yeah, I can't do it. And you're starving, and you literally operating on next to nothing. It's really
yeah,
hard going. So for me, I had to switch off from that side of things and just not watch people
yeah.
posing, because that really gave me bad anxiety. Really did. Absolutely.
I I think for me, I neglected my posing. My coach would say to me, "Have you done your posing?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've done my posing. I've done my posing. I'm posing every single day. And you know what it's like. You
Yeah.
go and you do your cardio, you do your training, and then you got to pose. Like, okay, that's not going to
Yeah.
happen this
I'm not
morning.
doing
I'm going to do
that.
it this evening. I'll do it before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And then the day happens, and you're
Doesn't get
tired.
done.
You're
Yeah.
really tired. And I think my message to a lot of people, as we've been taught, that posing in the off season is really very important. And for myself, I now have my routine where I do my mobility, I do my posing, and then I do my training,
Yeah.
because in that order, it's done.
It's done. Yeah.
It's done, it's dusted, much like my train in the morning, and then whatever happens for the rest of the day
Doesn't
can
affect it
happen.
because training's
Yeah, I've done my training and I'm happy. So I think just having that routine, sticking to it in the off season is going to set you up for success when you actually do
absolutely.
begin your prep, because you've been doing it. So why
Yeah.
would you change
Why
it?
would you change it? And the thing is
Yeah.
that for most people, off-season posing is hard because you don't see the condition, and it can be really hard to think like I'm looking at myself and I just look fat. It's like
Yeah,
I don't see
exactly.
anything happening. How do you approach people in that to help them change that mindset?
And that's an important thing, because even myself, like when we went to Bradford, my first week up there doing bikini, I was thinking, how can a bodybuilder be doing bikini posing? Like, have you seen how big I
Have
am?
you seen how big
You
I
know,
am?
and I don't want to use the fat. I just want to say that I'm rather chunky,
Yeah,
but I've got to be hitting these bikini poses. And I was really very conscious of it. I
yeah,
was really very conscious of it. And it is being comfortable with yourself. Be comfortable in your own skin, own it, because it's a process that you're going through. Now, you don't want to get fat in your off season. You don't need to.
no,
But you do need to be a little bigger in your off season to make progress. And
yeah,
it's just finding that balance and working with that and recognizing I need to be here to
yeah,
be successful in the years to come. So I'm going to do my posing, because when I do start leaning out, then I'm going to start seeing the fruits of my labor. Like, you're going to see the conditioning coming through because
yeah,
you've
yeah,
been posing, and you're
yeah,
going to be placing yourself in a better position because you're going to be able to bring out more conditioning.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what you have to, you've got to look at the positives and not so much the negatives. So,
Negatives, yeah,
move away
yeah.
from the negative thoughts of how you think you look,
Mhm.
because don't forget, we as bodybuilders are still going to look probably 10 times better
Yeah, than the average person.
than
Yeah,
the average person.
yeah,
And that's a positive,
yeah,
I think.
yeah,
Especially
absolutely.
as an older athlete, you just think to yourself, there are girls who are, say, 20 years younger than me, and I'm in a better position. My younger self, I wish I had actually started my bodybuilding career a lot
Yeah,
earlier, but I
yeah,
didn't. I started when I was 40,
yeah.
and it's one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
Mm,
So,
mm, mm.
do your lifting, your weightlifting.
Yeah, do your weightlifting,
Yeah.
get your posing done. But then that's the thing, again, for somebody who's committed to the sport, if you're in it for the right reasons, you will embrace the process rather than just the what you're looking at, like the exterior side of it, because you
Yes.
will understand that for you to get to that point, you have to go through this process where you will be fluffier, you will look softer, you will lose the lines. And we
Yeah.
do know bodybuilding in itself is something that's very subjective, and also we do know that it's not that lean stage is not for keeping. You
No.
cannot stay in that condition because you just
No.
drop down dead. You can't actually function like that. So
Yeah.
it's about knowing. It's really up to you as the athlete why you're in the bodybuilding as a sport. If it's
Yes.
for progressing and if it's for you, for the passion that you have for the actual sport, you will understand that the process needs to be followed, and you don't need to take things personally, as in, oh, I look fat today, I don't really feel like posing. And that's human, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's only natural to feel like that, even for the normal person. When you've gone through, like, say, a transformation and you've got leaner and then you put back weight on, it will affect you to some extent. But for
Yeah.
the bodybuilders, I feel like they need to understand that that's the process, that it's got to be there for a reason. If you actually do
Yeah.
want to progress, if you're not one of those who just wants to go on year on year on year and just bring the same package on stage, again,
Yeah.
that's a whole different topic that we can cover. And it's up to you why you are in the sport. For me,
Yeah.
the point of being in a sport is progression, and bodybuilding is
Mhm.
such a good sport for that. Compared to most other sports where the things that stay the same, it doesn't have to be in bodybuilding. You can always
No.
progress and you can always push for more. And it's about understanding that, really, and knowing that it is a process. At the end of the day, it's nothing to do with how I look at this moment in time. It's just what I have to go through to get to where I need to be. And so if you do want to progress and if you do want to put on more muscle, you will have to gain weight and you will have to look fat.
Fluffy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, it is, why are you doing it? And I think for me personally, if I never stepped on stage again, I'd be cool with it because I enjoy weight training.
Yeah.
I
Same.
enjoy the discipline it brings to me. I enjoy the mental calmness it gives to me as well. Having
Yeah.
that ability to, again, walk away from life itself and have 2 hours in the gym
To
where I
switch
can
off.
just
Yeah.
switch off and
Yeah.
just process whatever is on my mind. I love that. And
Yeah.
that's my why. And also, again, as an elder athlete, it's, I believe I'm aging backwards, and I'm cool with that. If I can,
Absolutely. I mean, what more could you ask for out of life? Like, if you're looking
yeah,
better as you're growing older, like everybody wants that. It's incredible. So
yeah,
people lift your weights. Your body will thank
yeah,
you for it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I often think to myself, where would I be when I look back at myself 15 years ago, and I think, wow, if I continued on that trajectory, where would I be
Exactly.
now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Scary.
Not good. Not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is
Yes.
brilliant because we've covered quite a lot on there that's very, very beneficial to the general population and also to our fellow athletes. I want to now come on to a controversial topic. I want us to touch on PEDs, which is something that everybody's got an opinion over. And everybody feels they've got a right to shout about what they think about it, and that's absolutely fine. But I just want to pick your brains on it and what your thoughts are. What do you think about taking PEDs for, say, new athletes who are coming into the sport? Do you think this will help them get further in the sport? Do you think this actually helps in the long term?
So I'm not an expert, but I do see this often, and I've actually witnessed it a couple of times quite recently, and it maddens me. Everyone has a choice, and we're all entitled to make a choice for ourselves. And I'm not here to judge anyone. I
Mm.
can't judge anyone. Only God can judge you. But
Yeah,
you can have an opinion, and my opinion is build what you've got naturally and see what your path is, whether you do have those genetics to take you to that next level, before you embark on taking any assistance in your bodybuilding. I think you see too many young or just newbies come into the industry, have their coach, and the coach is going to look at their physique and say, okay, we can do this, but we can also do so much more if we put you on whatever it is
whatever it is. Yeah,
they
yeah,
put you on. And I think that's wrong. I think if you've been working with an athlete to make that decision, I think you need to have been working with them for a
for a
long
while.
period of time.
Yeah,
But take it away from the coach. I think you, as an athlete, have to look at your moral compass and see whether it sits with you. If you've
yeah,
got someone saying to you, I think you should have some assistance with your bodybuilding career. Why?
yeah,
Question, ask, research. If that's the route that you want to take it. But
yeah.
make sure you've done your research. Make sure you know why. Make sure you know what you're putting in your body. If I had
Mm.
started bodybuilding 20 years younger, would I eventually have embarked on taking PEDs? And my
Mm.
answer is no, because it doesn't sit with me well. It doesn't
Well,
sit well with me.
yeah, yeah.
I've got a son, and I think I am a role model for him.
Mm.
So I can't then, for me personally, I can't be taking PEDs and then saying to him, don't smoke, don't do
Yeah,
this,
exactly,
don't do that.
exactly.
It's kind of hypocritical for me. But if that's a choice that you want to take and you want to make and embark on that journey, do it, but do it with informed information, so you
Yeah, yeah,
know why you're doing it,
yeah,
know what the benefits are going to be with you for you. Be realistic with your potential.
yeah.
We see many people start taking PEDs, but they're never going to make it to that Olympia stage, and that's what you have to remember. Be real and have
Mm.
people around you that are going to just reel you back in and say, brethren, what you doing, you
Yeah,
know you know, be real is
Be
what I
real.
say. And
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not here to judge. I can't judge anyone.
No.
But if you are gonna do that, do it with a lot of information behind
Yeah,
you.
make an
And
informed decision, I feel.
yeah,
You have to be very aware of what you're actually putting in, and you have to be okay
yeah,
with whatever result, with whatever after effects that you get from the stayed PEDs, because there's a whole host
exactly.
of things that comes with it. Also,
Uh,
it's where you're sourcing this stuff from, because not all of it is legit. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
you have to be aware of all these things, and you also
yeah,
have to go into the fact that people have actually died doing some of this stuff.
yeah,
If it's a risk that you're willing to take, then that's entirely up to you.
yeah. But I also think sometimes, I mean, my knowledge of pets is not great. It's only through listening to
Yeah, same.
Beyond podcast, Beyond
Yes,
Condition podcast,
beyond
that
condition. Yep.
my knowledge has grown a little bit more of it, and it's intriguing to me, just to actually hear people talking about it, but also know what the consequences are.
Mm,
See where you're going to be in the next 5 years, and are you comfortable with that?
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, this
But
is
above
what's
all, I
so,
feel like you should be able to explore things entirely naturally, especially for that first round. Just see
yeah,
what your body can do. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Just to see what your
yeah,
body can actually do on its own.
yeah,
Then, if you feel like I'm actually needing to do a bit more, which you still can, you just need a longer time. And this is the thing.
yeah,
A lot of people are not patient. They just think like, I just want it now because,
yeah.
yeah,
And that's the key word there. It's about having that patience. It's if you're too eager for growth, then you can be at risk of making the incorrect decision for
yeah,
yourself. So it is about being patient. And again, it's about having that information available to you to help you make the right decision.
absolutely.
So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah,
Personally, it's a no-no for me.
yeah,
And if I do come across people who are new to the game, I'd say go and do your first season. See what you look like when you get on that stage, and that will put you and your coach in a better position to
yeah,
see
yeah.
what your frame looks
Looks like,
like
yeah,
and what areas actually need to be brought up, and then you can start making those steps to in the direction that you wish to. But don't
exactly.
just go into it blind. Don't just start a prep and say, right, I'm going to jump on the peds.
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah,
I think it's the wrong thing. I really
yeah.
do think as a coach you have to say to your client, let me see what you look like
Let me see
at
what
the
you
end
look
of
like
this
first.
prep.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not the decision will be whatever the decision is. The result will be whatever the result is. We
Mm,
have no control over that, but let's see what we can achieve in that first season,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
then we can sit down and have a discussion.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Michelle, how far are you looking to get in the sport? I know you're still in your off season now, but how many lives have you got in you to carry on with it?
Um, Oh my God, that I've never been asked that before. I do plan to get back on stage. When, I don't know. For me at the moment, it is about building my physique, bringing up those areas, and I'm not going to step back on stage until I
Okay.
believe I've actually made change. It's not worth the compromise in, going through a complete prep and you're not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah,
So it is about just seeing how I progress over the coming year, and
yeah.
then deciding whether I will compete in 2025. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal is, and whether this will ever happen, I don't know, but it is actually to win an open class in natural bodybuilding.
Fantastic.
That's the goal for
Yeah.
me, to
Brilliant.
actually be able to be proud of myself of achieving an open class win. Um, whether I'm good enough, I don't know, but I'm going to do my utmost best to just try and get myself to that.
This is a fantastic way of looking at it, because I feel like most athletes just do it for the sake of doing it without a goal. And I feel like your way of doing it is absolutely brilliant, because you've set yourself a goal there. You know what you're working towards and you're putting the work in. So like now you're still committed to the process. You know what your goal is, you've got a vision, and you think you feel like that's where you need to be. Question, will you keep going until you achieve that?
Probably, because
Yeah.
that's how I am. I'm just that way. That's how I'm tuned to. That's my goal,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
need to achieve it. whether, oh, that's my goal, and
Yeah,
that's how, and I need to achieve it. And like I said, whether I'll ever achieve it, I don't know. But so long as I'm fit and well, I
you'll
will
go for it.
continue
Yeah,
doing my bodybuilding. Let's remember, I don't bodybuild and weight train to for the stage. I do
yeah.
it for me. And my goal is to get on the stage and win an open class.
Yes.
And I hope that I'm able to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm able to do that. I will continue to pursue that goal until I achieve it if I'm able to. And
That's
that's the only way I
absolutely
can
fine.
answer the
And
question.
you will. I've got no doubt about it. I mean, your work ethic is absolutely phenomenal. So I've got no doubt that you'll achieve it.
I'll
And
try.
um, in the near future, I believe so. So yeah, all good luck with that. And you keep putting in the work. Obviously, you will get your results. I mean,
Yeah.
committed.
What's your sorry to cut you there, but what's your goal for like the coming years?
What's my goal? So at the moment, I'm looking to go up a class from where, I'm like in the small bit of figure. So I don't really want to be big. So I want to go into the middle bit, so the athletic figure, because I
Oh
feel like
right,
that's
yes.
just the right.
Yeah.
I'll be comfortable on that size, so it won't feel like I'm too small and it won't feel like I'm too big. And so it's just the right frame for me to be in, and that is the goal of mine. So again, it's about going away and putting in the work, bringing up what needs bringing up, and just carrying that on until I actually achieve that. Now, in terms of thinking big or like dreaming big, it would be nice to get a pro card. Of course it would. So that as well is a goal.
Yeah.
And it's something to work towards. So short term is to go up a class and see how I do compared to the other athletes. And long term is the pro card. So those are things to definitely work towards. I still got a few years left in me, so we'll see how it
Well,
goes.
like I said, I'm 50 plus and I know you're nowhere near that. So you've got a long way to go.
Oh
And
God, it's whether or
both
not
goals are
I've got the ability
attainable.
to keep going with it though. It's it is quite taxing. And for me, I do find it's really hard on my head. I won't lie. It literally it takes over the whole of my head. And where I'm at with my life at the moment, I'm just not sure it will fit into everything else.
Yeah.
It might be something that I drop for a bit and then I'll go back into when things have settled,
Mhm.
and when I'm in a better place, so to speak, to like really focus on it. But at the
Yeah.
moment, there's nothing wrong with progressing my physique and growing as much muscle as I can, and then just seeing how I go with it. So really, nothing set in stone. I really want to enjoy the process of building the muscle and seeing what the body is actually capable of doing if I keep pushing.
Yeah.
And
And I
that's
think that's the important thing as well, because you said the key thing there is just to enjoy the process and not setting that goal and that timeline and saying, right, in 2025, I need to have achieved this. It's too much pressure.
too
You're
much
you're
pressure.
applying too much pressure to yourself. So
Yeah,
just enjoy and just go with the flow
yeah,
and enjoy the training, enjoy the
absolutely.
journey.
100%, 100%. And I mean, training now is absolutely mint. I love it. Like, there's nothing as good as training when you've got food inside you. Like, it's brilliant.
Absolutely.
It's brilliant because
Absolutely.
training when you're on prep is just not the one. It's not the one.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, but it's got to be done because you're doing it for a reason, and you have to do
Yeah,
it so that you get yourself in the condition that you need to be to get on that
yeah,
stage. But
yeah.
yeah, training with food is just mega. I love it.
Yeah.
So
And I
it's
think
something
that
that I
that
could do
mental
forever.
attitude as well is, when you are training, when you're training when you're full and you're training when you're not so full. And it is about keeping, again, just thinking, right, I need to get through this, but not just going through the motions. You've got
Mm,
to go in there with that same intensity if you want to retain your
absolutely.
your muscle, especially as a
Yeah,
natural athlete. You've got to keep as much tissue as possible.
absolutely,
So
100%. And you've got to keep that work in. You've got to keep pushing. You can't. There is really no room for not putting the intensity in. You kind of
yeah,
have to keep that up. You have to keep that going, which is
yeah,
what gives you the results. And every day, like even though it's off season now, it just feels great to like know, like I really pushed that session and I feel
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic
Yeah.
for it. And you're
Yeah.
like, I can't wait to see what I've grown. Do you know what I mean? Even though, you know, you've still got to be patient to see the whole
Yeah.
process through. It's just like, oh, I want to see what I've grown. But yeah,
Yeah.
it does take time and it does take quite a lot of work. You still have to put the work in, you still have to keep the focus, and you still just have to operate on the same principles. As you're an athlete, you never retire from it until you 100% retire. Like
Yeah.
never ends. But even when I feel like, even when I get to a point where I've hung my heels up, I will still just have the same mentality. It'll be like, yeah, I'm still pushing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't ever see me not training, and that's the God's honest truth because I enjoy what I do. Don't get me wrong, there are days when I just think, oh God,
yeah,
I've got to go
this
to the
again.
gym. And I had that on Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday night, and my leg day training partner said, right,
Yeah,
are you still up for the training session? I'm like, I don't train in the evenings. And I was like, when she sent the message through, I sat there for about 5 minutes before I responded. And I was like, what
I can
excuse can I
imagine.
use not to go and train legs? And then I
Yeah,
just thought,
yeah.
Michelle,
Oh,
the conversation that you're having. And I said, right, I'll see you there in 10 minutes. And I felt so good for going. I felt so much better for actually going there and going against the grain, training at a different time, and had
yeah.
a bloody good session.
Good.
So
Good.
it is about just, fighting through those moments where
Fighting
we
through
don't
them. Yeah,
always
absolutely. You're
get up
constantly
to it.
fighting through these emotions anyway, because
Yeah,
no 2 days are going to be the same, and
no,
no training sessions are always going to be great as well. So you have to just give yourself that break and just know, like, yeah,
yeah.
well, if today was crap, it was. So what? We go again tomorrow.
Yeah,
Fine.
exactly. Because it's a new day. You don't know what's going to come. So just
Yeah.
go with the flow is what I say.
Yeah. Brilliant. Michelle, you have now qualified as a posing pro coach, which is fantastic. Well done.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thanks.
In the Emma Heidman's Posing Pro Academy. So, how is this feeling for you currently? You being able to offer athletes like top quality service, it must feel awesome. How are you finding it?
It is awesome, but at the same time, it's kind of scary at the same time because you're still learning.
Yeah,
You're still training your eye to see the finer details. And I think the great thing is that we do have Emma, who's very hands-on, who's there to give you advice and what have you. So I think the most thrilling thing for me was actually being in the studio with athletes and putting into practice what she has taught us.
yeah,
Like I said, the first athlete, I was like, oh my God, am I going to be able to deliver? And I did deliver, but it was nice to have the on film, sorry,
all right,
send over to Emma and get her to just give you the feedback. And she just has this way of being able to feed back to you that keeps you on that level
yeah,
of feeling good, feeling great, but also knowing that you have so much more to learn as well.
mm,
So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the fact that I am able to be a part of an athlete's journey and
yeah,
help take them to that next level. But also for myself, knowing that I actually have to stay accountable to me as
yeah,
an athlete and get in there and do my posing. So it's a great experience. It's just nice to have that knowledge actually of knowing what it is that you are
you're
actually
looking
trying
for.
to showcase when you go on the
Yeah,
stage. And that for me is something that I thought I've lacked previously.
yeah,
Although I've had great posing coaches before, but having it broken down for me, like from the base all the way up,
yeah,
really does help you. I say transform like into a transformer. That's how I feel when I'm posing. Like you're literally just, when you do body popping kind of thing. This is how my
yeah,
mind works.
yeah,
Like you literally are doing the mechanics of your body and really just switching on, like layering it up
mm,
and really getting to the final pose that you need
yeah,
to.
yeah.
So that's the enjoyment that I get. I just like also being in the studio and seeing the
It's lovely.
athletes
Yeah,
smile.
it is
Yeah,
really
just
good.
see them smile and say they enjoyed it. And that's the
Yeah,
important thing for me is that I think you've got to be kind of stern, but also make it an enjoyable experience for the athletes so that they do walk away with that newfound knowledge, thinking, okay, I now know what I need to work on to be
mm,
able to pose properly.
properly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is amazing. Like, even for me, I'm still learning. Obviously, I'm still trying to get to that point where I can actually see down to this very smallest detail of what needs correcting, and fine tuning every little pose for the athlete. But it's very satisfying to get somebody to do a lat spread. I will say that.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
I did get to a point where at one point I just thought, like, I don't know if I'm ever going to teach somebody to be able to do the lat spread, because it is quite hard. You just can't use words to help them do it. You
Yeah.
have to go in there and like,
Yeah, you've got to be very hands-on as well.
yeah. But
Yeah.
it is brilliant to see how a normal person can transform and get the shape in, whilst before you're looking at them from an overall view, they're just a normal person, and then they do the lat spread, and then you've got delts, and then you've got all these things up, and it's incredible. It is really, really satisfying. So yeah, I get that. Do you think this is something that you will do for a while then? Are you going to carry on with it, or
The posing?
posting? Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. See, like I said, I keep referring to my age. I don't plan to be working full time for
No.
much longer. I really do want to transition into this a little bit more.
Yeah.
If I'm able to do part-time work and then do more of the posing, and that is the goal for
Yeah.
myself. Yeah, just to be able to do it a lot more, because I enjoy it. I really enjoy that, being able to place myself in a position where I can help an athlete and really help bring out their best attributes. That's
Absolutely.
key for me. So yeah, I don't plan to be stopping anytime soon. I've just
Good.
started.
Yeah.
So this is
Fantastic.
long term for me, definitely.
Brilliant. Right. I think we have really spoken way too much, which is a great thing,
Yeah.
because it just means we've covered quite a lot of things there that people can
Yeah.
actually benefit from. But before you go, Michelle, I usually ask my guests a random fun question at the end,
Oh my
to
God.
conclude things on a bit of a light-hearted note, if you want to call it that. And my question to you is, if you had an all expenses paid for trip to anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Damn. Ooh.
Ooh, think.
Um, oh God.
It's all paid for. Everything's done. You just need to pack your bags. Even maybe your bags are packed for you. You just need to get out of the door.
I think it'd be China.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, I think it'd be China. And the simple reason why I say that is because going back to my martial arts days, where
Ah,
that's where the origins are in
right.
Okinawa. So I'd like to probably go to China and just experience the
Yeah,
culture,
the
and
culture there. Yeah.
just
Yeah,
see so
brilliant.
much more. So yeah, it'd probably China. Oh
Fantastic.
God, yeah.
Fantastic. And what would you say your greatest achievement has been up to
At-
date?
Today, my
Yeah.
child, just having my child,
Oh, that is
yeah, my
lovely.
son.
That's
Yeah,
lovely.
just I think as a single parent and raising him as a black boy in
Yes.
today's society,
Yeah, absolutely.
and keeping him grounded, keeping him confident, keeping him believing in himself, keeping him in a position where he's able to continue to achieve the unachievable,
Yeah.
I think it's very important. And yeah, that he's my greatest achievement. I'm so very proud of him, and he just strives to be a better person daily. And I don't just say it because he's my child, but he does. It's nice to just see him just driving forwards, man. He's just,
Nice.
yeah, and he also keeps me driven as well. If he
Yeah.
sees me slacking, he's on me, trust me.
You
He's
won't
on
get away
me.
with
No, I
it.
don't. No, honestly, if he knows that I've got a goal in place, then he's the
Yeah.
one to really, really just make sure, keep me in check, basically. He's also my best friend.
Oh, that's
Yeah, so I took him away for his 21st, and it was just nice to be away with him and to really, just be at one, just me and him.
just you
So
and him.
yeah, he's my greatest achievement.
Fantastic. Oh, I love that. I absolutely
Thank
love
you.
that. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the pod
Thank
with me today,
you.
Michelle. We've covered quite a lot, and I'm sure it'll be great value to our listeners.
Hope
So I will
so.
love you and leave you now. And just again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for agreeing to come onto my
Pleasure.
pod. I feel like there's so much more we could go into, but we'll leave it there for now, and maybe I'll get you back on again at some point
That'd be
next year.
great. Thank you so much for having me,
All
Carol.
right then, and I will
Thank,
say goodbye to our listeners now, and we will catch up soon anyway in our other
yeah.
groups, because
Yes.
out of them anyway, aren't we?
Cool.
Right, Michelle, have a good day, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Goodbye,
Take
everyone.
care.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
And just before you go, Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel so you don't ever miss any upcoming episodes. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Carol West Coaching. Are you interested in coaching or joining our team as a client? We offer photo shoot, body transformations, as well as bodybuilding competition prep packages. The team at the Elevate Health and Body Transformation Program are ready and waiting to help you achieve and maintain your dream physique. Whether you're looking to step on stage or just want to do it for yourself, you can send us a DM and we'll get you on the road to achieving a lean and fit physique. Bye for now.